Hello and
Hi.
welcome. We would like to get started with your name and occupation and, if applicable, organization.
So I'm Emilia Roig and I'm an author.
Perfect. And then what brought you to the summit?
I've been invited to talk here, so that's why I'm here. I'm doing the opening with Joana Breidenbach and Raphael Thelen. Yeah.
Perfect. And then and we have a curious question here, what forces do you think are driving societal fragmentation today? Is it more mental, physical, or emotional?
All three. Like, I don't think it's possible to divide or, separate them from one another. So on the physical level, humans have been divided in a very rigid way and hierarchized, classified. And even if this classification process started 500 years ago, it still is very much ingrained in our way of thinking, seeing ourselves and others. So the short name for that is racism. But there's also other physical traits. For example, gender would be one, or disability. And so in that sense, on the physical level, navigating the world in a black body, in a disabled body, in a white male body is a very different thing. So the fragmentation starts there already. On an emotional level, we're very sensitive, fragile beings. And so we have the need to belong, to be loved, to be seen. And so these things are denied for many, many people based on the attributes that I just mentioned, and other things as well, like personal history, socialization also plays a role. You can also be a white non-disabled man and being raised by a very violent father and experiencing this kind of emotional loneliness and despair and trauma. And on the mental level, cognitively, we're trying to make sense of this. So a lot of people are like, oh, but I don't understand, like, what drives, this fragmentation, or how could we bring ourselves together? And I think it's a way of trying to control as well. So being too much in the mental is also not something that is going to help us in the end, right? So we need to have somatic practices that help us overcome this fragmentation within us and also with the world around us. But it's not going to be enough, and that's so important to stress. It's not going to be enough to just say, oh, we're all one, let's all come together. This can be actually very violent to say that. It can negate the very violent, brutal systems of oppression that have been telling us exactly the opposite and also acting on this. So, for people who don't experience this in their bodies, who do not experience this rejection, this hierarchization in their bodies, like on the side of being affected negatively, then it might be also very tempting to say, let's all come together. Like, our differences do not matter. They do matter, and in order for them to no longer matter, we first need to acknowledge that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree because with those different like variables on either your race or your gender or disability does play a huge effect on just how even people come together or even day-to-day life. I'm curious though can you go more in depth on how does social fragmentation impact marginalized communities, particularly in terms of the mental, emotional, and physical well-being?
Well, fragmentation, so let's call it what it is. Like, fragmentation is oppression, and it's violence that is driven by the state, that is driven by capital, that is driven by individuals. So it means that this violence is ongoing, it's systemic, it's institutional, it's structural. It's not just because fragmentation, the term seems too neutral for me. Fragmentation, is not necessarily negative, right? I mean, you can have a fragmented society. Also, if you look at ecosystems in nature, they can be fragmented in some time, like in some way or another. And it's not per se negative. What is negative is when there's use of power and control, and that this fragmentation is used and instrumentalized to assert power over others, right? And so we can see that racism and imperialist capitalism, patriarchy, they do have effects on our bodies. They make us sick, right? There are so many scientific studies that prove that living in a body that has been constructed as inferior and as deficient, or as not as good as, or not enough, can lead to to risk for certain diseases. So that's real. It's very tangible. The materiality of this violence is very, very tangible. We can add to that as well, like very tangible violence inflicted on the bodies of people who, through state violence or through genocide, through So that's a reality. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, what are some key takeaways would you like attendees to leave with?
I don't know what takeaways, because I don't really know about the program, but I'm thinking just like humility, and also not, be too quick to believe that we have a quick fix for things, or, that, your approach is the right approach, or that, you're a good human being and you have the bad human beings. Not like falling into these false dichotomies that are not going to help us, but more, having a very candid view on what is currently taking place and what our roles can be, and also that the process can be messy sometimes, but it's not about feeling good, right? Because sometimes a lot of the summits that we have are there as well to make us feel better about the state of the world, right? To give us the illusion that, oh yeah, we're on the right side, we're doing the right thing. I think it's more complex than that, and trying to look at this shift, the paradigmatic shift that we're currently going through, as a relational shift, something that happens, that is dependent on our own actions, but also that is bigger than us. So I would say humility and honesty. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, is there anything else that you would like to share? Any thoughts, any comments, anything that you would like to display to the world? Or any comments to display to the world?
No, for now, not. Like if you, on the video, like if you put links, you can put links to, my Substack or my Instagram, but yeah, otherwise.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I was throwing my best